Hey everybody, time for another one of Malachi's instructional videos. This video was actually the idea of mine to help my wife, and I thought, well, hey, let's make a video, that way we can show some other people what we're doing. Okay, the basic idea is for people who make corsets and stuff like that. My wife does make some. Oh, ignore the pile of wiring right here. This wiring I'm still figuring out from this pickup truck. That's a whole nother project. Anyway, my wife makes various corsets of all sorts of, things and whatnot. Anyway, the problem they run into is there's various types of boning, okay? And let's see here. She frequently buys this spiral boning. This spiral boning is pretty flexible and all that, and I think it's made out of some sort of, maybe it's a stainless, I don't know. Either way, what it is just some spiral wire that's turned into like a chain linky kind of thing here. The camera's not focusing very well on it, but either way. And the normal method is they cut it with this stuff, these or some other kind of tin snips or whatever kind of product. And she was like, well, can you cut this in any other way, because this thing's really, really hard to cut, and then you end up with a jaggedy edge. And then what happens is you have to pound on these little caps. This thing is not focusing very well at all. Don't know why. But either way, you pound the little end caps on here. The end caps are a pain in the butt to put on. Maybe there's a die set you could use to punch them on, but we couldn't figure it out. Anyway, what happens is you end up with something that you're trying to pinch on with pliers and tap it down, and ends up with little jaggedy hooks and crap on there, and they're just not a very neat job. So she asked me if I had a solution for this, and after giving a little bit of thought, I thought, yeah, I do have some thought. So here's what we did. I already own this. This is something that I already have. This is a Weller 140 100 watt. I don't know if it'll read very well. It's a cell phone, so you gotta take what you get. Anyway, I do not like pencil style soldering irons. This one works really, really nice. It's got a little light at the end of it, and gets hot really, really, really fast, as opposed to the other crappy ones which take a long time and they don't work as well. Next thing, solder. I'm using the cheapest whatever kind of plumbing solder this, I think it is. Doesn't really matter the type. You can buy the more expensive electrical stuff, flux cord and all that. I have all that, but you don't really need it for what you're doing here. Also, paste, soldering paste. And here was the big key. This right here is a little 3-inch multi-purpose bench grinder. It's a Harbor Frieght special. This thing was $20, maybe $25. It's a little itty-bitty 3-incher. It's got a grinding stone and a heady buffing wheel over here on this side, but we've taken off the buffing wheel. There's a washer that I just kind of let floating around there. It don't matter. And I replaced that with this, which is a cutoff wheel. Now, the trick here, step one, turn it on. It's going to rattle for a second. Once it finds once it spools up, it'll stop rattling. There it goes. Now, you take this, and you can cut it. I'm having a little bit of an issue here, but basically, okay. Boom. We've cut a fresh one down. You can turn that off. You're not going to use it for a minute. Now the way I do this is going to where it gets a little bit tricky, because I don't really exactly have a third hand here to hold this. You dip it into your paste so that there's a little bit of crap on the end of it. You turn on your soldering iron and get it hot. Now this one has like a dual trigger. You hold it up to a certain point and it gets hot. You pull it in further and it shuts off and just keeps the light on. Don't know why it's like that. Keep it going. Now, here's one thing. This is the second time we've made this video. The first video was done with a much better camera. Unfortunately, what happened, though, was the gun, there was so much crap built up on the end of the little tip down here where my pinky's pointing, that the gun took forever to get hot, and we couldn't figure out why. So let's see here. Whoop, let's see how fast that was. Boop, it's already hot. Hot enough to solder. So we're going to try and set this up. Don't know how well this will work. Let me see if I can find something to prop the phone onto that'll still let it videotape what I'm doing. I'll use my coffee cup as a propper here. Alright, look at that. You can't get no better than that. Alright, and we will try and see if this thing is hot enough to solder. Of course it's not. Cooled off pretty quick. There it is. Okay, here we go. You take a little soldering, solder on here. That's one side. Double check that the other side was done, because sometimes you only get the solder on the one side and not both. See, this side just needs a little tiny bit. You can do this with the pencil, but it's going to take a lot longer to do. Done. That fast and efficiently. Now there's a big blob of solder on the end of this. What do you do with the big blob of solder? Well, we go back to this little grinder here. Remember this little fun toy? And we use the grinding wheel side. And we sand it down just a little bit. And the goal is just to make it so it's not sharp. It's not really to take all the material down. You just want to make sure it doesn't have any points that'll poke through your material. And not too bad. This one's a little bit thick still, could probably use a little bit more grinding, but either way, you end up with something that you can shove through your material here without it catching, snagging, ripping, tearing, and wearing. Look at this silly little car. It's my daughter's little car. Anyhow, so if you're doing some corset making and you're using spiral boning, this will work. Now, the other tip about the boning is the other stuff that they use is these. These are like a steel, some sort of piece of sheet metal that's been rounded at each end, and then some sort of paint has been applied to the end of each side. Now what happens is these are never the right length for what you're doing. You always end up cutting them. The current method that my wife and her friend Robin use is they cut the end with the tin snips, or you could use that bad boy, and then they dip it, they round it off as much as possible, preferably with the grinder again, and you dip it in Plasti dip. Plasti dip is this product you can get at any Home Depot, Lowe's, any of those kind of places. It's around about $5 for a can of it. The problem with the Plasti dip, and there is a problem, is that once you open it up, it has a very short shelf life at that point. It may go bad within a week. Normally they put the lid back on it and they put it in a Ziploc baggie. I think once for a while we were trying air sealing it, like a vacuum seal. Might work, might not. I don't remember how well that idea worked to make it last. But you can try that method, and maybe it'll help you out, maybe it won't, I don't know. But the Plasti dip will prevent it from cutting through your material when you're using this style. I've tried removing the paint from it and soldering it. It takes a lot longer. It's not is in need of a job and doesn't work as well as it does with the metal spiral boning, which was a lot harder to overcome anyway. So, hope this helps you out. I don't really expect to be making too many corset making videos because I don't really make them myself. Not really an interest of mine as much, although I love chicks and corsets. It's just sexy. Anyway, if there's any other tips or anything you guys are looking for, you can ask. My wife makes them, so she might be able to help any further videos that need to be made. Alright, and as Malachi ends all his videos, peace out, bitches.